Great, thank you. Good evening, everybody. We are meeting for Athens City Council in a number of committee meetings. I'm being Chris because Chris has to be the mayor, so that's why you see me. So, to start with, we have a committee of the whole. We do have all people except for Sarah Grace, who is not here. It's age-friendly community, designation of our age-friendly community. Chris, could you talk about that?
Certainly, thank you. The community has had a number of meetings, the largest of which that's probably happened recently was in November 2019. And at that time, Katie White, who's director of the Age Friendly Community in Columbus, Ohio, came down and spoke also with Holly DeBelco-Shoney, who's an associate professor at Ohio State University. And they are very much involved in the Age Friendly Community plan in Columbus. The group of probably 35 to 40 people who met that day listened to their presentation and were very eager to pursue that designation for the city of Athens. The group has met twice since then, a smaller group of representatives from the university and the city interested in possibly moving forward with that. If we did get that designation, we would be one of several cities, Akron, Cincinnati, Cleveland, Columbus. There are also Oxford is a city more our size. And then there are several counties in the state that also have this designation, Franklin County, Clinton County. And there's several other communities, Westerville and Yellow Springs. The designation for the age-friendly community is one that is given by the Association of Retired Persons, the AARP, as we know it. And that designation then links anyone who has that membership to the World Health Organization Global Network of Age-Friendly Cities and Communities. So I think it would offer the city of Athens a number of resources. I think it also lends a certain amount of credibility to grant applications or other future projects. The group that's been meeting has asked or is going to submit an application soon. And as part of that process, they need to have a letter of intent from the mayor and then also a resolution from the city. And you have that sample resolution on your drive, the document to look at. And it talks about the AARP network of age-friendly communities. And what this, the resolution would do is it states that the city would be supporting the planning process and request participation in the network of age-friendly communities. It's basically, I think, signing off on our community planning committee working together to seek that designation. It's part of a 5-year plan or program, and the first part of which is planning. Second part is assessment and then implementation of whatever the group decides to do over those 5 years. But the Columbus group said probably minimum of 5 years. Questions?
Question.
Sound reasonable? Yes.
I guess I don't quite understand what it would mean if we get that designation. How would it change the town in any way?
It probably would change it in a number of areas. There are 8 designated areas in which you do assessments and then do strategic planning. Mm-hmm. And so one of them is quality of life. Another one would probably be transportation. Another one is safety. So there are very set designation or areas in which you decide you're going to participate in it and then set goals for the community.
Okay.
So as of yet, we haven't defined all of the areas that we would be involved in. It's just this first step of application that we're at right now.
Okay.
Councilmember Katsas.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you. So it sounds like we would just it would kind of design a plan, a route forward for something that has been talked about for a while. Something that has been kind of a, do you want to say stumbling block? No, it was something that's missing that people have been. Right. Asking about. Was it in our last
comprehensive plan?
Yeah.
I think there were elements of it that we wanted to make sure that we were part of an age-friendly community, but not specifically this official designation.
Right.
But I think you're right. It would also link together our planning process, probably also then some of our ventures with affordable housing It could link with the environmental and sustainability, saying, we want to set certain standards for new developments coming in. What kind of green infrastructure, or, what kind of green building do we want that kind of, those kind of developments to have?
I think one of the things why you want to go for these sort of designations is because it helps to educate both lay people and city administration to what are best management practices right now, and gives you the opportunity and tools to be able to go and survey your community in terms of those sort of questions, which is important when you start looking at more specialized things with age-friendly communities. And so it gives us an opportunity to be able to, where we're good and then where we need to make priorities. So, other questions?
It is more of a comment. My initial question was, do we have to do anything now to get this designation? But as you've already answered, we commit to it and then develop a plan to respond. And any opportunity that we can have to make our community more inclusive and more inviting and more welcoming to people of all walks of life only seems to fit within our mission as a city. So I think this is a positive step.
And I was just reflecting on the fact that I have an aunt and uncle, not that they would come, but they are looking for a nice college town in which to retire. And having that designation just might attract some really good new members to our community.
Sense.
Okay. Members of the audience, please come up and give your name and who you're associated with.
Rob Delac, 124 Morris Avenue. I think this is a great idea. AARP has become, I think is the right word, recently, at least in the last few years, an advocate, a strong advocate for livable communities, they call it. And one of the major things they've spent a lot of time on is making it more walkable, bikeable, improved transportation for the elderly so they can get around without cars. People start losing their ability to drive long before they start losing their ability to walk. So at least 40% of the population can still walk once they lose their driver's licenses from age. So enabling communities to plan better for active transportation is one of the things they're very focused on. So I think this is a great idea, and it would help our community, I think, along with complete streets and some of those kind of focuses would help us improve for the elderly. And we've also thought about thinking about my in-laws coming to live here. My father-in-law just turned 80, turns 80 next month. And so we're getting to the point where pretty soon they may need to be someplace where it's more accessible for them. So.
Thank you.
I did find out that this letter of commitment that this group would make towards applications does have 4 elements that need to be involved. Establishing a mechanism to involve older people, then do a baseline assessment of the age friendliness of the community, and then development of a community-wide action plan based on the findings of the assessment, and identification of indicators so progress can be monitored against the action plan. So,
and some of that we have done through the comprehensive plan, because it was a very wide net when people were involved in the planning process and the public meetings.
And we're fortunate that we have Paul Logue, the city planner, involved in that core planning group right now.
In terms of judging whether or not the city meets these standards or not, what metrics are out there and who set those metrics? How do you know that you are age friendly?
There are...
I don't really know what it means.
Correct. And there are certain parameters that are set up by the AARP and also by the World Health Organization.
And so
I don't have that with me tonight, but I can share them with you. I can get the PowerPoint that shares the 8 elements.
That'd be great.
And then we commit, and we would look at those areas and plan and implement.
I think one of the things is also the AARP works really closely with the National City League. They were at the City League meeting when we went down to wherever it was, San Antonio. And they had a lot of information, and they've been working really closely with a lot of different communities to look at what works and what doesn't. So.
Did you bring any of that back?
Yeah, I did actually. I have some information. I will look for it in my box, my magic box.
Okay.
Okay.
So I will get those 8 domain elements to you then as a follow-up.
So, great. Okay. Any more questions?
You?
Okay. That's the end of the committee of the whole. Thank you. Planning and Development is next I'm chairperson, so I'll still be talking. Tonight, we're going to be looking at 3 different agenda items. First is the City Township Trustees Economic Development Agreement, which is an agreement with a developer for a spot on Lurig Road, down from across from University Estates, where the pond is. This is the start of a longer process of annexing these pieces of land into the city to help enable the development of this project to go forward so that they can have city services like sewer, water, and fire, and police. And this will help the project fulfill its different roles that the project is currently being put forward as. We have 2 people from the project who would like to, if you would like to come up and give a short spiel, that would be awesome.
And I think we have a map that
Yes.
Ryan will be able to put up on the screen.
So, right. Yeah. Thank you.
Good evening, council members. I'm Rusty Rittenhouse. I work at the law firm of LaBelle & Associates, 449 East State Street. I represent the current landowner, East State Street Development Company, as well as the developer, Woda Cooper Companies. There are 2 parcels of property that my clients are seeking to annex into the city. They are across from University Estates, where the pond is currently located, next to Lurig Road. There is a map attached to the current or the proposed annexation agreement. That the last page has a map of the properties if anybody cares to look at it. There are multiple routes for annexation. We are trying to do an expedited annexation type 1, which requires an advanced agreement between the township trustees and the city before it's submitted to the commissioners. Mm-hmm. If the annexation is completed, the Woda Cooper Company would purchase a portion of that property and develop 2 tax credit residential developments there. And Frank Fugate is here, and he can talk a little bit more about that development. Those would be zoned R3. The remaining property would be kept by East State Street Development and would be zoned B3. As Councilmember Fall mentioned, the purpose of this is to get the water and sewer services as well as the fire and police services. If anybody has any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Otherwise, I'll turn it over to Mr. Fugate. He can talk further about development.
And this specific thing is making sure that there has been problems in the past with the process about release from, like LEACs releasing people from their water responsibilities. This is a way of helping that expedite that issue along so that it doesn't cause a problem in the very end. It's one of the reasons why we're looking at this agreement. So.
And there will be a fee that's charged by LEACs, but the developer will pay that. Mm-hmm. The city and LEACs previously worked out an agreement. This was, you may recall, I represented a developer about 6 or 7 years ago, tried to do that at the time. There was a similar agreement worked out at the time between LEACs and the city of Athens as to the collection of funds for the water services. A similar agreement has been worked out in this case as well.
Okay.
Mr. Fugate?
Great, thank you.
Good evening, committee, council members. I'm Frank Fugate, 500 South Front Street, Columbus, Ohio, 43215. Rusty's here, did a great job of explaining. Let me take one little step back, talk a little bit about our company, a little bit about my role and everything with this. Woda Cooper Company started in 1990. We're now probably in the top 10 affordable housing developers in the country. We're in 15 states. We're over 300 developments, 13,000 units. We have a couple different product lines. We have In Athens, we currently have Beaumont Green, which is a senior development. Nelsonville, we have the old school there. That's a senior development. So that's one aspect of our business. The other aspect is we develop what we call general occupancy or family developments. And what's nice about family developments, it helps young people get a hand up in the community by living in energy efficient, cost-effective housing. That's professionally managed. Let me say one other thing about our company that it's good about. It's owned by two gentlemen that we all work for. It's a vertically integrated company. So, meaning that I work in the development portion, there's a construction portion, and there's a management portion. So development, we have offices in North Carolina, Georgia, Michigan, Indiana. So we cover those kind of areas locally, Baltimore. And then the construction team works out of Columbus and Charlotte. But the great thing about our construction, we'll use local contractors. We're not going to bring somebody in to, when I say local, it might be Parkersburg, it might be someplace, within 30, 40 miles. But we'll bring somebody local in, because if you put a heating system in, it needs to be maintained and fixed when it breaks. You don't want to wait an hour and a half for somebody from another town. We'll have a job superintendent. So we generate quite a bit of business in the community. So like I said, we're very excited about doing this. We like this site. Hopefully, if you've seen our design, there'll be a gateway to the community coming from the plains into 682 and then into the ridges. And we all know that the ridges are quickly being developed by the university. So that corridor's going to really change, I hope, all for the better, because you're not going to see the ridges, but you're going to feel the traffic and different things that are going on there. I don't have anything else. If you have any questions.
Well, I want to follow up with some of the other things that you're doing with this project. You are, one of the reasons we're going through this process the way we are is also to help you to get tax credits which enables the project to go forward. So that's one reason that we're doing it this way. And I think that I've worked with WODA and other realms, and I think that what you've done for like the school in Nelsonville was very out of the box thinking, and I appreciate that, and I know that Nelsonville is for the better of it. And I do have some company plans and stuff of some of the other things you do, and I think that when somebody goes on some of the projects to restore, upgrade and restore projects that are buildings that are of the heart of the community is really important, and that's something that I know that you do to much more of a degree of other corporations that we've seen try to do some stuff in the city. So I think that this is an opportunity that's great to help enable our affordability comprehensive plan that we've been looking at. This will help another part of that sort of thing to get some below market grade affordable housing within Athens. So, questions?
Yes, we're talking, what, 50 units approximately?
Yeah, so we're talking about one development. It's going to be 51 units.
Okay.
And there's going to be an adjacent development on the other side of the pond, closer to Louis, that's going to be 56 units.
So that's a total of?
107.
And my other thought was in terms of re-landscaping the area, are you looking at our native species of plants, or are you looking for just something that looks pretty?
No. So in East Lansing, Michigan, we're doing a development, which is Michigan State. And we've been approached by the community to use native species. We've learned that we don't set up irrigation and everything like that to keep it. We want to have native species. We want to have things that can take care of themselves. And we build LEED green. This will be a LEED green development. So that's one of the components of LEED green, is that the landscaping is native and self-sufficient.
Are you going to stop the pond?
No, we don't own the pond. The pond is kind of an interesting, it's also the retention for the development that's up on the hill. So the owners are going to keep that. So I'm going to own up to that, not right up to it, but I'm going to own.
So you own the shore, but you don't own the water?
Right. Sounds like a good deal, doesn't
So
it?
like Bucko Lake.
Yeah.
A little bit smaller. Do you have a question?
I just have a couple of quick questions. So we have the names here. Are those the names of the properties or the complexes?
Yes.
Kershaw Green and then Tyler Park?
Yes.
Cool. Can you talk a little bit about, and we have it before us, but if you wanted to share with the audience kind of the makeup of the different sizes of the units that you're going to have?
Oh, sure. So let me find the right sheet, okay?
It doesn't have to be, you don't have to like rattle off exact numbers, but just the fact that we'll have 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, 3
Yeah,
bedroom.
we'll have, I can do that. Yeah, let's start at the top. So, so I'm going to have, I am going to have in Kershaw Green, which is the one that's down the road north towards the plains. I'm going to have 9 one-bedrooms. Wait a minute, wrong numbers. I'm going to have 15 one-bedroom, Kershaw Green's 12 one-bedrooms, 32 bedrooms, and 9 three-bedrooms. So if you look at our unit mix, one of the reasons that we do that, we have the 12 one-bedrooms for maybe somebody's older, single, that wants to live there, and then we have the 32 bedrooms to pick up the young family, and the same thing with the 3 bedrooms. Tyler will be 56 units. Difference will be 15 one-bedrooms, 32 bedrooms, and 11 three-bedrooms. So you can see we pick up a few of the 3 bedrooms in that.
It looks like you have at least 6 total that are accessible between the two?
Yes. And then there'll be some beyond that that are for hearing impaired.
Okay.
That we do that also. So they'll be handicapped accessible. All of our buildings are visible, meaning that there's no steps like what y'all have to get up there. There's no steps. It's all level going right in, and we design them all that way.
Is universal design used if generally, or is, okay,
Yeah.
got it. So all your property, all your units will be made in, okay, great.
Yep. That's a requirement.
Oh, that is a requirement, great. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Could you talk a little bit about kind of the prices that you plan to charge for these units in case the community is interested?
Yeah, so let's talk about, let's start with, they're all going to be the same. Both buildings, the rental rates are all going to be the same. So, so since you brought this up, so we have a compliance department. So if you don't make enough income, you can't live in our development. If you make too much, you can't live in our development. So this is going to hit an income between 30% and 80% of the median income of Athens County. So at 60%, a one-bedroom based on this would rent for $687, $820, 1, 2, and 3. I apologize. So 2-bedroom would be $824, and a 3-bedroom would be $928. So we're going to go boop and boop. So a 1-bedroom at 30% is going to be $367. A 1-bedroom at 80% is going to be $762. So you can see that's the range on those. On a 3-bedroom, it's going to be $508 up to $1,098. So we're going to hit, a nice span, and we have quite a few units. Like in Tyler, we have at 80%, we have 19 units at that higher number, and in Tyler at the 30%, we have 9 units. So you can say, does that? It's so hard when you stand up here and do numbers for people. If you want, I'll stay and I can share.
We need A blackboard, right?
Yeah, a whiteboard, yeah.
Okay, I'm thinking about the infrastructure, because you'll have some streets, you'll have some roads. Will the city eventually own the right-of-way and the systems that are existing in that right-of-way, and then also within that right-of-way, sidewalks and connections outside of the development? I'm also kind of curious about those.
So those are things that well, let's talk about the roads first, okay?
Yep.
So Lewick Road is going to stay with the township. They've asked to keep it, correct, Rusty?
The city will actually, it'll be annexed, but the township wants to continue to have the ability to maintain it, or have the responsibility of maintaining it.
So
They take a lot of pride.
it's like Buckeye Lake. You could look at the water, but you can't.
Exactly.
Right. So, and then 682 is a state highway. So anything that we do with curb cuts or anything like that, we're going to have to go through ODOT on that. So that takes care of that. Now, the one thing is the brewery, Little Fish? Yeah, they have a bicycle path that goes to their backside of their property. I haven't had enough time to research to see if there's a means, but it'd be nice if we could somehow get to that bicycle path to get connectivity. We will have sidewalks, within our property to get to places like that. But a lot of the property's down in the floodplain. We've pretty much filled out everything that's not in the floodplain.
Chris, did you have Sam?
So you mentioned 682 as a state route, obviously. Do you anticipate any changes to that and a turn lane? Most people going to University Estates are coming from Athens, so it's a right turn, it's easy. But coming to your property, it's going to be a left turn.
Yeah.
Do you anticipate an extra turn lane or a signal even?
We have, you know what, we have not.
It's a little bit down the road.
Yeah, it's a little bit down the road. That'll come through the planning part. What happens is, my experience has been the planning department, we submit everything and they send it, they do a broadcast out to everybody. And ODOT's going to probably be one of the people they broadcast to. So I'm sure their engineers will definitely look at it. And I believe, isn't the ODOT garage around the corner?
It is, right?
Yeah, so they're going to be very familiar with it.
Yes, that's
Yeah, and so yeah, Ms. Crowell, yeah, I think that's going to be, yeah.
Thank you.
So, and if they require that, then we will do that. I'm doing turn lanes in another state right now, so it has to be done.
Chris?
A small question. On one of the maps, it mentions that the buildings will be 3 to 5 story. And what is our limit within the city?
It should only say 3 stories.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Thank you. That answers the
Yeah.
question.
There are going to be 3-story walk-ups, and then there'll be a community building with both developments. So everybody will have their own community room. There'll be a manager's office. There'll probably be 2 managers' offices. The one manager's office, we'll only use one of the manager's office probably, but we'll have 2. And that'll be repurposed for something else in the community. So, and then I'm sure we're going to have to figure out some way to get between the two developments when we do it. So we'll figure that out.
Okay. From the audience? Come on up.
Should I come on up?
Yes, please. Come on down.
So, what I'm going to say is, Rob Delac, 124 Morris Avenue here in the city. What I'm going to say is more of a comment. What you just said about connecting to the bike path is a brilliant idea. That's what I was thinking about as I wanted to ask a question about. So thanks, Pete, for prompting that. The rail trail committee I serve on here in Athens County is working on a rail trail mostly on the other side of the city, and going west toward Moonville Trail has been something that's been on hold for a long time because there's missing pieces, and Moonville was not looking like it was going to happen anytime soon. However, they just got a complete funding to put in 7 bridges and complete the Moonville Trail all the way into Athens County. Not all the way to your property, but there's this quandary we have trying to plan and figure out how we make that last connection across the road like you were just talking about, and it's an issue for us, for the Rail Trail Committee. Crossing 682.
It's a quandary for me, too.
Because if you follow the rail trail path, the old rail line, it crosses where the railroad does currently. We can't do it there. So we probably need to do it at or near Lurig. There may be an opportunity to work with you to create a crossing that maybe comes into your property and then crosses it, maybe.
Yep.
So that's something I think we should
Right.
think about and maybe have some conversations about.
Well, and the rail trail is associated also with some other projects that we've been doing before with WODA. So,
Thanks.
okay,
I have a card.
thank you. Come on down. Come on in.
My name's Mike Moschel, and I live at 7280 Lurig Road, Athens, about a mile and a half from this development down the road. So the noise of the development's not going to bother me any. But what does bother me is the potential for more traffic problems than we've got already. I was here a couple years ago when development was first proposed here and asked what kind of planning was going to go into this for the transportation infrastructure around here. I got to meet with Mr. Stone, who assured me that everything was under control. Don't worry your little head about it. We've got it all handled. Well, now I hear that the developer here doesn't really know how traffic's going to be handled in and out of development. My township trustee tells me there was going to be 120 unit apartments there, a little bit more than what the estimate was here. But I do find it interesting that, well, when we're on the subject of planning and development, to me that says the planning's got to come first before the development. And I think some of you were here when East State Street development exploded and nobody bothered to widen the streets or take care of any of those little details until really recently, within the last year or so, that mess has gotten anywhere near straightened out. Are we going to learn from that, or are we going to start doing some planning with the transportation infrastructure in and out of here? Because it's not going to stop with just these 2 apartment buildings. There's more property over there that they want to sell off in development. It's going to be bigger. I'd be interested to hear from the administration, and I would hope that you folks would be especially interested in hearing from the planner and the administration about what's going to be done with this area here. Right now, getting out of my road at 7:30, 8, 8:30, and 9 o'clock in the morning isn't a quick and easy thing to do. And once I turn right and head down across the railroad tracks to the light, there's more delays. You folks know what Union Street looks like at 3:30, 4:30, 5 o'clock, trying to get onto 682 or past it. You folks are going to need some bridges. You're going to need some more roadways under there before you can really let this thing go big. And, you know, it flabbergasts me to think that I'm not hearing that all of that's already being planned and taken care of. I was hoping the mayor and some of his representatives would be here to talk a little bit about it. I guess my other concern too is access over the railroad tracks. That's still an active rail line. My question before remains, how are you going to guarantee fire, police, and ambulance protection to this place if you've got a train parked in the middle of the way and there's an emergency on the other side of the track and it's city services that has to get over there? Like I say, you guys are going to need some more bridges, some more roadways. I wrote to Mr. Logue when they were doing a transportation study, a year or so ago, and told him, you know, gosh, if they would have taken some of that money for that bike path bridge over at the end of Armitage there and made it into a roadway, build Armitage Road up a little bit better, that'd give us another way to get in and out of the city. But right now, there's one way in and one way out, and that's that 2-mile stretch of Route 682 there by the ODOT garage.
Right.
Not an awful lot of room to work with there as far as expanding the lanes and all that. So I'm really concerned that if, you know, and I'm glad to hear there's going to be some low-income housing. Of course, University of States promised us the same thing too when they started 20 years ago.
And what this is the very, very start of the planning and discussion processes that we're going through.
That's what I'm hoping is that these questions will come up and that these concerns will be addressed before they start shoveling dirt out there.
Oh, yes.
Because once that starts, you know.
This is just one step of many of the processes that we will be going through with annexation and those things. So
all right.
you'll have more
because I hear about another phase project, University Estates, and so you're going to be stacking even more people out through there. And we've got that doctor's office over there, a lot of traffic
Right.
coming in, the AEP building. I mean, it's getting to be a busy place, and it's not going to be, you're not going to be able to solve it here in the next couple of years, but I'm hoping that with some planning and some foresight, we can get ODOT on board, get the city engineer's office on board, and actually get some road work done out there before this thing really gets out of hand.
Great.
So
Thank you all for your time. Does anyone have questions for me?
And just to say that we'll convey your questions, and there are points well taken about the planning happening first. So we'll take that back to administration and make sure that as this process moves along, we're informed about what kind of planning is going on.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any other discussion or questions? So this will be the first step, just
Yes.
first stop on like many other discussions that we're going to have about this.
So one thing I'd like to say is the gentleman mentioned about 120 units. So this is a dynamic process that we've been going through up to February 15th. We talked about more, we talked maybe 60 units. But so what happens is our underwriters look at the numbers, they look at what has to be done and where we are to be as the underwriter and competitive. So that's why there were some numbers floating around. I actually came to Athens many, many months ago, met with the planning department, I met with the township folks and all that kind of stuff. So this is not, we don't take this stuff lightly.
Right.
The other thing is we will do, I know we'll have to do some type of a traffic analysis.
Yeah, that will be required.
Yeah.
So, great.
Thank you.
Thank you. I also have like some information from the company and stuff. I'll put this in the office on the table. My thing, okay. Second item is the LEAX Regional Water District Certification of Registration for Title 49. Long nut. This is the result of our reconfiguring how we do right-of-ways. So now we register these sort of right-of-ways with the city. The city council has that first say of whether it gets registered or not through this process. And then after that process, it's just an automatic, instead of renewing a right-of-way registration or something, it's an automatic, unless council wants to change it. So, bye. So that's the process that we've been going through for a number of years. This one is for LEAX Regional Water District, has pieces of equipment that are in our right-of-ways. They have put the certificate of registration together, and it has been passed by the city administration. So, questions? It's pretty straightforward. There'll probably be one of these every council meeting for
So
the
this
next few
is,
months.
so the fee for the right-of-way, I'm just
Yeah.
learning as I go here, it's just $50, and that lasts then for 7 years, I believe is what it said?
Yeah, it's yeah, for that, but then it's the administrative level.
I'm sorry?
Renewal. At 7 years, it will be an administrative renewal.
Got it.
Doesn't come forward.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Okay. The next thing is the Carpenter Hall special right-of-way permit that they have put together to have special right-of-way use in the alley behind their project that they are going to be redoing in the near future. This will help them be able to have a better garbage recycling parking situation than it is back there right now. So all that paperwork has been put in too. Okay. So that's all of the Planning and Development Committee. Any questions on any of it? Okay.
Not really.
Okay, thank you. Next is the City Service Committee, which Sarah Grace is the chair of, but she's not here, so you get to hear me talk again. So I feel like Pete, it's like passing all these. Okay. The item that's on the agenda is the Community Development Block Grant. We do these block grant proposals every 2 years. They are our opportunity to be able to prioritize and identify projects that meet the CBDG requirements, which means they have to be in certain census districts that meet certain income qualifications, mostly lower income or distressed. And I would like to take a point of, this is why we need people to fill out the census forms. We use these census forms to use for giving information to get these types of grants. So. The process has multiple parts. Right now is the beginning of it. It will require at least 2 public hearings. And I'm like, sorry. And then it will have a committee that will get together to have an implementation strategy and pick the projects that make the most sense. Right now, they have various possible projects, right, having to do with water system improvements, wastewater and remote sites, accessibility improvements, sidewalk insulation on certain areas that are sidewalkless, and those sort of things. They also have public infrastructure programs like the Wellfield Abandoned Raw Water Line Capping and Bank Restoration Program. So these are all possible areas that the money could be asked for in this CBDG process. Is there any questions? Thank you.
And we are going to be having the public hearings starting next week. So March 16th is the first public hearing.
Yes, March 16th.
And then April 20th is the second one.
The first one is to review the short list of projects, and the second one is to review the selected projects to prioritize them. Yeah.
My question was, is there a short list that exists now?
Well, there is on your drive. It's not really that short.
Oh,
But for the allocation funds, it's College Street accessibility improvements and West Side accessibility improvements. And then for the residential public infrastructure program, they're suggesting that we hold on the Armitage well field improvements until 2022. The critical infrastructure program, they're suggesting that we reapply for the wastewater treatment plant dewatering. That sounds like it'll be a good resubmit on that.
And that would be under the critical infrastructure program, I would think.
So just to clarify, then we have just 2 projects we're considering then for this current grant? Do you pick one?
I think it depends on how much money it is, because it's,
let's go for broke.
yeah. I don't know. If it was me, I'd go for more.
The allocation funds available are $150,000. So I imagine, I mean, I could be wrong, but I bet we're going to have to select one over the other, but we can clarify that.
It says 150,000.
Correct.
That won't buy a tenth of a dewatering.
Well, no, this would be for the allocation program, and that allocation program is either the College Street accessibility or the West Side accessibility.
Right.
And then the critical infrastructure for the dewatering that you were mentioning, that has funds available up to $500,000. And then the residential public infrastructure program has $750,000 available.
And why were we suggesting that we hold on that one for the residential?
No, that was the.
I'm not sure. It might be resources for being able to prepare all the applications in time, but it's a good question, and we can ask, get that information clarified.
Maybe this has already been clarified, but are we only permitted to submit one application, or might we be able to apply in more than one category? Funding category?
I think we will be applying in several categories.
Okay, good.
If I'm
Excellent.
understanding right.
Sounds smart.
I mean, the city's been pretty, they've had good luck in these applications through the years. So,
And so this is for, this is to secure, so if we were successful, we would secure another $150,000 in that fund. Doesn't that fund currently have about $450,000
with the,
with the sale
no,
of those houses that we had last year?
I'm not sure what the balance is on that.
that would be something to ask Kathy. Okay. I'll ask Kathy that. Now we're all coughing. Great. Oh, thank you. Everybody's taking so much care of me. Thank you. I want to say thank you to everybody for taking care of me. People know I can never do as good of a job as Chris does, so. Okay. Any other questions with that one? Okay. So there will be, Rob,
When was the public meeting going to be on this, and what details are going to be available then?
the meetings will be the 16th
And then April 20th.
and then April 2nd.
Part of council meetings?
Yeah, those are council meetings.
Usually at the beginning.
They'll before it at 7.
Sign in.
Yeah. That's how we get lots of people signing in, right? Okay. Thank you. That's the end of the City Safety Services Committee. Thank you. Ooh. Okay, and Finance and Personnel Committee. Sam, thank you.
Thank you, President Member Fall. Finance and Personnel Committee has one item tonight. This is a appropriation that was approved for the Athens County Municipal Court in 2019, and they were not able to actually use the funds, and so we are reappropriating the amount of $34,749.70, which they received in a grant from the Ohio Supreme Court. So this is really just a matter that we will bring up next week to appropriate this amount so that they can improve a component of their case management system. This is a component called Judicial Tools, and it allows them to move towards a paperless system. Judges can view case files and sign documents electronically and keep notes, et cetera. And so they are requesting that we appropriate this money next week. Any questions from the committee?
What funds are they going into?
It is, I can tell you that, it is Judges Computer Fund 230, Transaction Code 300.
Okay.
So it's the Judges Computer Fund.
So it'll be under their bailiwick.
Correct.
Okay.
Any questions about this appropriation? Okay, thank you. That is the end of Finance and Personnel.
Well done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
End of the meeting. Thank you.
Good job.